it's not like this was Liverpool and it was Steven Gerrard who got the manager fired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't like this was Drogba or Lampard who got the manager fired. You know, these are just three kind of guys who, while all extremely talented, world-class players in their time, they're guys.
Right.
They're not club legends.
Let me ask you a question. As I found this one thing you mentioned kind of interesting, because you mentioned Diego Costa as a blithering psychopath. You had a similar experience with a player somewhat like that in Luis Suarez. And you know, all joking aside, he does seem to an extent more affable, I guess is the best way to put it, than Diego Costa, but he can be kind of a psychopath. He's bitten multiple people on the pitch. So and yet Liverpool seems kind of to really love him, and I think almost to a man you guys would welcome him back from Barcelona with open arms. So what is the difference between how Chelsea fans feel about Costa and how Liverpool fans feel about Suarez?
Because Luis Suarez went out scoring 30 goals and getting us back in the Champions League.
That's a good point.
I mean, like I said, there's the other thing, performance. All three of those guys, none of them have been good this season.
Right.
I mean, like I say, if you're on form, if you're a club legend or you're on form and something happens, it's hard to blame you for, or it's hard to get too mad at you for that because, well, we don't want them to stop scoring. Mm-hmm. You know, Suarez bit a guy, and he did it, you know, he did it off the back of, as I said, scoring 30-some goals, being the PFA Player of the Year, and you know, taking us back to the Champions League. So it was like, well, you know, it's like anything. You deal with the quirks if they're performing for you.
Right.
But let's put it this way. You know who else was quirky?
Who?
Mario Balotelli was quirky. You know what he didn't do? He didn't score goals. Yeah. So therefore, he's not there anymore. We didn't put up with his quirkiness because he wasn't scoring 30 goals. If he had, Balotelli would still be in Liverpool doing all of his weird shit, and we'd just say he's eccentric. That's the God's honest truth.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if Adebayor was still scoring goals for Tottenham, you guys would love the guy.
That's true. And I guess we do really have the greatest scenario in common between the two of us, and that is one Manuel Ramirez.
Exactly. Oh, God, yeah. I mean, Manny was insane. Still is.
Yes.
I mean, he's either insane or he's a complete idiot.
I think he's smart. I think he's smart.
Or he's just an idiot savant. One of the
There you go. That might be it. He might actually.
That might be it. But yeah, I mean, you know, hey, when Manny was hitting 330, you know, it was Manny being Manny.
Yeah.
When if Manny had stuck around and Manny was hitting 240, it would have been, what the hell's this guy doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we look back and laugh about him cutting off that ball from Johnny Damon from center field.
Yeah.
The one that he cut off literally 10 feet in front of the
God, it's so
we laugh about that because we won the World Series.
That's true.
So, you know, if we hadn't won the World Series and Manny had a terrible series, then he would still be, God, what the hell was that idiot doing?
Last quick question then on Chelsea. Are they back? Is this what the club actually needed? Are they about to go on a run now?
Well, here's a couple ways to look at it. I mean, look at what Liverpool did when you switch the manager. It is immediately a breath of fresh air. Mm-hmm. You know, no matter if you thought they should have or shouldn't have, it is a breath of fresh air. You'll get guys playing with a pep in their step, just because, you know, they understand it's a clean slate and that the next guy coming in will be watching. And, you know, if you go out and put in some good performances, you're going to get more playing time. My other thing is, it was Sunderland.
That's true. That's a very good point.
I mean, it was almost like, well, if we had to choose a match for everything to happen, and then to go into, and Aston Villa's not available,
yes,
you're probably picking Sunderland. So, you know, basically all it was a bottom table team beating a team below them.
Yeah, that's true.
I believe Sunderland was below them. So, I mean, basically all it was just two bottom dwellers at this point who had to play each other, and one of them happened to win. So Chelsea's going to have to put together about 3 or 4 really good matches before I will even begin to utter that they're back.
That's fine. A team that really needs to get back on track right now and may have also a new manager in their sights, which could be someone named Jose Mourinho. Norwich took the lead on a breakaway goal against Manchester United with a first-half goal by Jerome, and on a second one similarly in the second from Teti on a feed, again for that man Jerome. The Frenchman Anthony Martial bullied his way in the box for a goal for United. That's Martial's first goal since he exploded on the scene in September. Chris Smalling almost tied it up for Manchester United in the 93rd minute, but it's no wins in 4 for Louis van Gaal's army as they are looking quite defeated, and there were boos around Old Trafford as the finale was Manchester United 1, Norwich 2. Wes, you said Van Gaal has one match basically to save his job. That's what we've heard as the report. Do you think that's fair? As much as we're enjoying this whole swirling around United, is that fair for Van Gaal, really?
Well, I mean, here's where you go with that. What's your expectation for this team?
True.
I mean, if you as Manchester United, if you're happy with maybe qualifying for the Champions League, and maybe if everything falls right, having a title challenge, then okay, we're not gonna put any upheaval. We'll just we'll stick with what we got. But this is Manchester United.
Yes.
Mediocrity. Finishing 4th is not good enough for Manchester United.
Right.
And I'm not saying this negatively at all. That's awesome. It's awesome that you have those kinds of expectations. Plus, you have the payroll to back it up. Plus, you would think that you have the swag to be able to go out and get the players that you need.
Right.
I'm sorry to use the word swag. I know you don't like
it's
it.
Fine. I love it.
That's amazing. Just kind of what I came up with at the moment. So, therefore, if that's the way you look at it, then Van Gaal's not doing a good enough job.
Right.
And here's the other thing is I think United are looking at it kind of like a lot of teams may suddenly be looking at the whole Klopp to Liverpool deal.
Yeah.
I think, as Liverpool fans, whatever's going on right now, as you may have seen, I posted something today. I end everything with "In Klopp we trust."
Yes.
And the reason here's my big reason. Where we are right now on the world stage and where our money is and all that good stuff, we probably should not have been able to get Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah.
It kind of worked out where it was during the season, our job came open, and Klopp liked what he saw as far as the project and whatever he could do. But you can't tell me that right now, if he was available, Chelsea wouldn't be going gung-ho after him. United wouldn't be going gung-ho after him. Hell, there was talk that if he was still there, Arsenal might look to get him as well as Man City.
Yeah.
And I think right now another thing Manchester United are looking at is, if they really want to go for Mourinho, which has been said before.
Yes.
And, Mourinho has said that is a dream job for him as United. Well, you know what? Suddenly he's free. He's available. And it's not like you're looking to fire a coach who is doing well at the moment.
Right.
I think Ed Woodward might see this as his chance to get Mourinho. And, if you got to hatchet Van Gaal to do it, maybe so be it. Because the one thing they don't want to do is get into next summer and suddenly, Madrid wants to bring back Mourinho now.
Right.
Or, things happen and they don't end up getting a top flight manager that they want. And then you're either stuck with Van Gaal for another year, or you're getting a guy who maybe wasn't your first choice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're not happy with where you're going and you don't see it turning around, then, by all means, you go out and try to do what you've got to do.
I think the interesting question, or not the interesting question, but the interesting thing is, and it's something I mentioned to you earlier today, when news came out that that Ed Woodward and the United Board were having an emergency meeting about Van Hall. I asked you somewhat tongue in cheek, but when is Ed Woodward's meeting? When does the board have the meeting about Ed Woodward's job? And you mentioned that he's an Alex Ferguson guy. He's fine. He's locked in there. But doesn't at some point some of this have to fall to him? I mean, we've mentioned the David Moyes hire. It was never going to be great. The guy who replaced Alex Ferguson was never going to really get it. Don't replace the legend, replace the guy that replaces the legend. That's what you've always said on this podcast. Mm-hmm. Well, now he's hired Van Hall. It hasn't really worked out. The fans are fed up with him. A lot of the signings this summer haven't really panned out, besides Martial, really, and he had been in a drought scoring goals. That you look at, we talked about it last week, a guy like Pedro who goes to Chelsea, who United really wanted. Jose didn't really want him at Chelsea, and somehow Chelsea still got him. It's things like this is, when do we start looking at the failures not so much on the players and the coach, but also on management, i.e. Ed Woodward?
Just by any chance, literally within an hour of us having that little back and forth, did you see the Bleacher Report article that came out on Woodward?
No.
Well, I mean, it was actually more of a, an essay on Ed Woodward. And I was like, oh, maybe Ed saw this or something. I read it. It was a very good read on, it basically showed the rise of Ed Woodward and how he got to where he was. And basically what it was, Ed Woodward is the man who is pretty much responsible for the Glazers actually buying United back in 2005, I believe. He's the one who helped them push it through at the 11th hour. So the Glazers are 100%, they love Ed Woodward.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I mean, those are the guys who own the team.
That's what matters.
I mean, yeah, exactly. And from what it sounds like, as long as they're in charge, unless, Ed Woodward does something that really pisses somebody off, they are 100% in on Ed Woodward. Now that said, with Ed Woodward, let me throw this. I know we joke about it. We kind of we make fun of him because we enjoy it. But I kind of believe that if he can get a Mourinho in there, I just think a manager who goes in and inspires confidence in that group, I think they can do a lot.
Right.
Now here's also the thing: they need a good summer.
Yes.
Coming up, because you look at the guys who they've sold as compared to what they brought in. I mean, they brought in no one even anywhere near the level of Angel Di Maria in the offseason.
Right.
Martial has been a solid teenage striker, but that's what he is. Mm-hmm. I wonder how much better a lot of those guys, A, would play under Mourinho, but B, under Mourinho and Woodward, they would be able to dip into that transfer market and they would be able to do some really good things. Because one thing it's said about Woodward is Woodward has gotten very good contacts with a lot of the world's top agents. Uh-huh. Ronaldo, I think, who is Cristiano Ronaldo's agent, is also the agent for Di Maria and a lot of other top guys. Has an extremely good relationship with Ed Woodward. So here's the deal. United are always going to have a chance to land the top players in the world. I think one reason they haven't lately, well, here's been the deal. Alex Ferguson was actually near the end of his reign. he did not want to go out and buy a bunch of established players.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Fergie's